Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tim of ABA Software Quality Assurance Group. Just real quick, I want to just share a couple of things real quick with you guys tonight. And pretty much it's going to be centered around like what are the three things that every software quality assurance engineer needs to know before they get into quality assurance. Real quick, just tell you a few things about myself. I've been in QA for about 10 years. Uh, since 2006, I worked in the financial industry, technology industry consulting, and also utility industry. So, three things. The first thing I'll say is you want to understand how software is developed. In other words, in the software space, they call that the SDLC, which is the software development life cycle. So a lot of times when software is developed, it goes through a series of phases, which is called that SDLC. So the first phase, for example, might be called the initiation phase, or where they go back and regather requirements, gather an analysis, and after that they come up with a design. How are they going to design this particular product, software product? Once that's done, they move into actually programming or coding the actual software. And after that stage, the next stage is actually tested to make sure we can minimize defects. And finally, it's actually deployed, or they might call it implemented. So as a software quality assurance analyst, you want to understand those different phases of that SDLC. And if you're looking to get a job, you want to be able to talk to that and kind of convince the recruiter or the hiring manager that you actually have some understanding, at least working knowledge of the SDLC as a whole. The other thing you want to know is you want to know, and still speaking of this, still topic number one, you definitely want to know where, like I said, testing fits in within that software development lifecycle, and that's usually after the programming or the coding of the actual software. That's where you actually do the actual execution of your actual test cases. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind is that just because you're testing during the actual testing phase of the software development lifecycle, that does not mean that testing cannot start earlier, because one of the principles of software testing is that early testing is beneficial. So what do we mean by that? What you mean by that is if you're getting involved in testing, you want to get involved as early as that requirement gathering analysis stage, where you go back as a quality assurance analyst or tester, begin to check the actual requirement documents for any ambiguity. Because as a tester, what you're doing is you're building your test cases off those requirements documents, and beginning to build out a plan to begin to execute your test cases there. So first thing is understand how software is developed, and that's called the SDLC. And still speaking of the SDLC, sorry, one more thing is there are different methodologies or different ways that software is developed. So what we mean by that is there's a methodology called waterfall. So just like a waterfall, it starts from the initial stage, which is requirement gathering, all the way down to the implementation of the deployment stage. So it's like a waterfall. So testing is not started till you actually get to that particular phase of the waterfall approach. There's also the approach called the V model, where testing is done concurrently in every phase of that SDLC. And there's also the agile methodology, which today is very, very, very big time. So, if you're in the quality assurance space, agile methodology is something you want to get experience in. But if you don't have experience in, that's something you want to actually study up on and be able to speak to it as a whole. So first thing I'll say is understand the SDLC. If you want to get into quality assurance, have a thorough understanding of that. The second thing is the understand the testing tools. As a tester, there are tools that you actually use to kind of make your life easier. There are majorly 2 to 3 types of testing out there. Speaking of testing tools or technical skills, one is your manual testing, which you actually have manual tools you use like Excel and perhaps Microsoft Word or some other just very simple tools that you can use to carry out your manual testing techniques. And also you have automated testing tools. A couple out there like HP UFT or QTP, which is the Unified Functional Testing, which does functional testing of desktop applications and also just front-end applications as a whole. You also have the tool called Selenium IDE or Selenium WebDriver, which actually does also testing of actual web applications also. So understanding those testing tools are important. You have other defect management tools like your Bugzilla, you have Jira. You also have what's called like test management tools, which kind of helps manage the entire test process, like I was mentioning, from the requirement gathering analysis stage, where you begin to map your requirement cases, requirement gathering analysis with your actual test cases to make sure there's a complete link between every requirement and every test case. So you have those test management tools, and one of them, for example, is called like HP Quality Center, HPQC. That's another test management tool you want to be familiar with. Now, so those are some tools. Like the other thing I'll encourage you to also to be familiar with is technical skills. Some of the technical skills out there you want to have under your belt as a quality assurance analyst is going to help you on the job, so you can begin to develop as you think about this career. Is SQL, which is structured query language, being able to write simple select, statement, update, delete, insert, and those variety of different statements, and being able to use some kind of tool. It can be MySQL or Toad as a tool to actually execute those SQL queries. The other thing I want to mention is understanding Unix, the Unix commands, and perhaps being able to write basic shell scripts. And also, as far as technical skills, I would definitely recommend some kind of scripting or programming language you have under your belt. They'll give you experience. A lot of great schools out there, but also we teach it here at ABA Software QA. We teach you these different phases I'm mentioning. And one of those skills I'll probably mention is Python, because Python is probably one of the easiest programming skills to pick up. It might be easy, but it's very powerful at the same time. You can do a lot with it. So the first thing I mentioned, again, understand how software works, so the SDLC. The second thing I mentioned is technical skills, having the actual technical skills to be able to execute your test cases. And there's manual testing skills, there's automated testing skills, testing tools, pardon me. And you also have performance testing tools, for example, like Load Runner, which help you test performance on a particular application, the load and the stress that application can carry. So number 2 is technical skills. And finally, number 3, the third thing you want to know as a quality assurance analyst as you begin to learn QA is the actual soft skills and the technical skills here. And we're talking about soft skills, we're talking about actual communication skills, like your verbal and written communication skills, because as a tester, one of the most important skills you're going to have outside of your technical skills and the ability to understand how software is developed is the ability to kind of actually communicate your test plan when you find defects, and how you have to dialogue with the different stakeholders within your organization, for example, the PMs or developers, or maybe even your manager as a whole. So having those communication skills via written and verbal are important. So those are 3 things there. If you want to learn more, we have a course going on. November is going to be a free course, at least for the first week, for the first session, just kind of get your feet wet, if you will. And we kind of really break down and we go into a lot more details about this SDLC. We go into a lot of details about technical skills. We actually have a lot of hands-on training here at ABA Software QA. And finally, we also cover the resume prep, career prep. We offer a certification path with ISTQB to get your certification, which is recognized in over 70 countries. So if you want to, kick off your career, quality assurance, feel free. We're going to be doing a lot of these videos from time to time. This is our first one. We want to keep on improving. So just kind of give us feedback on what you like, what you didn't like, what we can do better. But like I mentioned, if you're interested in the actual material as far as the being part of the course, like I said, it's free initially. Just leave your email information in the comments field, and we'll definitely be getting back to you as soon as possible. All right. So you guys have a wonderful day. Stay blessed, and stay grinding on whatever your goals are. Peace.